Welcome to Take It Up with Jessica Lee. Today's guest is Director of Business Development and Technology Alliance from Fuze, Michael Musselman.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for flying in from Boston.
You're very welcome.
You're in Silicon Valley now.
I am.
We'd love to hear more about your company, Fuze, because it's an East Coast company, and
It is.
tell us about that and tell us about your role now.
Sure. Yeah, our perspective is that when you lower the barriers of communications, people do their best work. So if you think of the why behind that, what that means is we do unified communications as a service, which means that we do the core tenets of cloud voice, video, messaging, and contact center.
Okay.
And so we do all that from our cloud services and sell that to our clients.
So the UCaaS space,
That is
which
correct.
is very competitive with a lot of players in the Bay Area.
It is when you interoperate in maybe $100 billion market with 400 million information workers and other, kind of a line of business specific use cases, you end up with a lot of competitors. And so I joke I'm on the West Coast, I'm in the wolf's den. So, but definitely, yeah. We definitely compete and cooperate with a lot of people in this region.
There's been a shift to the cloud, and collaboration communication is just one more area that's pretty hot. Now, but you've been around, and the company has a ton of customers, right?
Yeah, we've been around for 13 years. Originally, the Boston-based company was called Thinking Phones. We've done several acquisitions over the years of, other companies, and one of the more recent ones were three plus years ago was with Fuze, which was a San Francisco-based video and chat collaboration company. And so where we were headed, the Fuze moniker made a lot more sense. It's a good 4-letter word.
Yes, easy to remember.
And so easy to remember. So we kept that, rebranded, remarketed around that, and we've been operating under that name for about 3.5 years.
And who is the ideal client, would you say? Because everybody's offering something that's better than others. So where would you say is the best fit?
Yeah, so you can't be everything to everyone. So I think what's really important, again, in the context of marketing and your market strategies, you really want to know who your ideal customer is, what the type of attributes that you're focused on, the verticals or lines of business, and try to not be everything to everyone. So Fuze specifically focuses on what we'll call the kind of, I guess it's enterprise depending on the market, but it's really 500 to about 10,000 users in an organization.
Okay.
And usually those attributes that I mentioned would be stuff like, a bunch of locations, a global footprint, maybe a business that does heavy M&A, where the traditional kind of tools for communications tends to be pretty, in the data center, a lot more rigid, and cloud really enables them to onboard people quickly, enable them to communicate, or if you're acquiring other companies, how do I make the new company feel like they're part of the mothership, right? And so those are really, really important for people, just like I said before, to do their best work, feel comfortable and connected to the company they work for, or more importantly, the new company that they're moving into. Okay,
so large enterprises, that's distributed sites, distributed workforce, so there's a lot of collaboration, communication required to be efficient. Okay. So your role now as Director of Technology Alliance means you're looking for tech partners who together will be able to add a lot more value to the client by combining your technologies or integrating the technology.
Yep, that's correct. So if you think of a three-legged stool, for us there's direct sales, so there's business that we do with our sales organization, demand generation, that's organic to Fuze, people coming in, hitting our website. Indirect sales, so our channel sales, so we work with a lot of agents, master agents, resellers, and so that's an area that we source a lot of business from and work with those. And then really the area that I've been focused on is unique companies that add, in some cases maybe compete with a larger company that has a lot of different technologies. So we kind of put things together, build integrations, build best-of-breed value-added services. And in many times while we're in a deal, someone might ask us, hey, how do I do this? Or what do you recommend for these other technologies that are tangential to what Fuze does? And so we usually have integrations or partners or, many cases, sometimes there's sales referrals or connections to be able to bring other technologies that we participate in, many of them located here, which is what brought me here today as well.
Okay, yes, there are plenty of tech partners you can reach out to.
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to be exciting because this is an area that you stepped in recently to do since there seems to be a big need and a big opportunity to make a big impact through that technology alliance.
There is.
Right. Before that, you were in charge of a sales engineering team of like 40 people,
Yep.
right? So tell us about that, the previous role, because I think there's a lot of leadership skills involved in that.
There is. So sales engineering is obviously, there's a dedicated sales force, and then there's usually a separate team that partners with the sales team to do all of the technology demonstrations, the proof of concepts, a lot of the technical workshops, and trying to match the customers or the client's business requirements and technical requirements to the solution fit. And so it's part of that translation of, what are you trying to do as a business? What are your strategic objectives? And then how does your technology actually make it work? And so I led the team on the West Coast for several years at Fuze, and then recently, more recently, led the global team, which brought me to Boston. I'm actually a Southern California kid.
Okay.
And in that sense, we had a pretty wide distributed team. We do about 60% of our revenue in the U.S., about 40 outside, in Europe more heavily, and so we had a pretty distributed team. And in that case, it's very different. Leadership is many things, and I think what we've talked about, what I usually see is I've had a lot of great leaders, and I've had a lot of maybe not great leaders in my past, so I always try to, between education, books, and just personal experiences, draw from things that I liked or someone that made me feel really excited to go work with them or for them. And so when you get the opportunity to do that stuff, that was pretty neat. And then to flip it to what I'm doing now is we have a really, really small team, and a lot of dotted lines to a lot of people internally to Fuze. Right. So marketing, the product management team, the engineering team, the sales team, the enablement team. So I interact with, like an octopus, probably at least 8 or 9 different departments at Fuze, but none of them really report to me. So it's more of an influence. And then that's just in our company. And then you think about the partnerships that I create and we furnish outside of our company. It's usually all influence. It's explaining to them, selling to them who we are, what we do, how we do it, why we should work together, why we're a better differentiated partner than maybe some of our competitors, or many times just they're already working with them or they're already working with us, and it's just about the ecosystem. And if you think about the priorities of the client, then it makes sense for us and someone else to work together, even if our competitors are working with them already. Okay.
So yes, the previous role you had the authority to manage and lead. Now you're kind of having to use that influence sales approach.
Yeah, I just personally, there probably wasn't anyone on my team that, I never felt like a boss. I think good leadership is certainly, I feel like I work for them regardless of the titles. And, what I've always found as a manager or senior manager is that, your job is to make the people that work for you, their job easier, faster, less politics, less hurdles and obstacles. So if you focus continually on whatever is going to make your people do their best work, then usually things go really smoothly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the challenges now. Okay. Challenges in your role, challenges in the industry that you're in, competing in the space that you're in.
Yeah, so in the role, it's usually time and scale. It's there's a million things you can be doing. Some of them I think you need to do for Fuze, you need to do for the company, but they may not drive revenue. They may not drive, top line opportunity or sourced, but they're good for the company. And so we have a lot of partners in the Bay that maybe make complementary hardware. So as a voice and video provider, right? Great companies like Polycom or Plantronics.
Yes.
Companies like Logitech and others here that are all in the Bay that make hardware, and we make the software, and together we have to make it together. So in many cases they stay pretty neutral because they provide that hardware for a lot of services, a lot of different organizations, but it's really important for us to work together. So I think for me there's tens of thousands of opportunities in either pure software, in hardware, in integrations. So you really have to just pick and choose either what your clients want you to work on or things that I kind of forecast or think would be important or to bring to our customers. But you simply can't do everything. So I think it's just a priorities and kind of stack ranking what's important to work on.
How do you get the information from the client to know what to put on the roadmap? Do you have user conferences? Do you have primary research that you do?
All the above.
Yeah.
So Fuze, that I like differently than any other technology that we work that I've worked with, is number one, this is the first technology in probably getting close to 20 years working for software companies that I get to use what I sell every day. Most of the time it was data center, net infrastructure, it was stuff that, or security that you would sell, but you would sell through your client's experiences, or you would sell through what you knew it did. I use what we sell every single day. I don't know that I could do my job without it. And now having this experience, it would be hard to go back to a different company or bigger company that doesn't have like a single unified experience for communications internally and externally. That said, we definitely do a lot of research. We like to do things that I think are more industry driven, that are either our self-sponsored or third party, where we just listen. We have a customer advisory board that works really closely with our product team, our product marketing team. We'll listen about what's working, what's not. Obviously, input from sales, input from support, input from folks like me, all drive product roadmap directions. We've got online forums and idea boards where our customers ask us, it'd be really cool if you did this, or competitor A does that, you guys should add that. And that kind of helps shape your roadmap and your requirements. But that being said, there's a lot of ways. And then to flip things on the market research and what we do, I think it's really important to think about what we do also shapes flexible work from home, remote work, or all coined as kind of the future of work. And we do an enormous amount of research on what's work going to look like in the future, and what do the younger generation, they grew up using totally different technology.
Yeah, they like to text a lot, right?
They like to text, they like to message. Yeah, they it's a very different experience.
Yeah.
So what you got to figure out is when you build software is, perfect example, and she does a lot of events for us, is Stacy, who's the CIO of Easter Seals of Southern California. And as a perfect example, she talks a lot about, I needed to find a solution that would work for the 18-year-old people that we just hired and the 60-year-old people that have been working with us for 20 years. And how do you either replace a desk phone or don't, but how do you find something that can stitch together these really, really wide life experiences to be able to communicate with each other, to be able to communicate with their clients, and for their business, they also, a lot of their people don't have computers anymore. They use tablets. And so when you think of that, is now I can't carry my desk phone that was connected to the PBX in my closet anymore, the private branch exchange. I need to be able to communicate in the field with cellular.
So using the tablet
iPad,
to do your computer work and also make phone
same,
calls.
That's absolutely true.
And do chat and all of that.
Do it all. So
okay, one device.
We do everything that we do on a PC or a Mac, on iOS, Android, iPads, Samsung tablets, and even just a browser itself. Okay. So when you start thinking of a browser like Chrome and Chromebooks, they're no longer OS based, so you can't really install anything anymore. So can you take your work away from you. One of the great stories is we talked yesterday, and my flight I was in Boston. We got a big snowstorm.
That's right.
We probably have 300 people that show up to our headquarters in Boston. I would be surprised if a tenth of them were in the office. But you wouldn't know that because everyone's working from home, everyone's working on the road. We're a globally distributed organization, and you'd never know.
Yes.
Right? So that's really one of the big things.
Yeah, I love it because I work from home often, and I'm in the car often and at meetings and all that. So my phone now becomes pretty much like my laptop, and I do my work and I do my phone calls, I do my recording video and everything all in one device. So I have so much freedom.
Right.
And I think that's wonderful that you're allowing us that freedom with your technology.
Absolutely. And what you're seeing is more and more people are starting to expect that. So you think of the younger generation, they, you and your IT and your CIO are being evaluated for what kind of tools and technology you have to enable me to take what I can do on my consumer experience into the enterprise.
Yes.
And so, like many other things, the cloud has disrupted more traditional technologies, and certainly the phone system at a company is one of the last enterprise applications that typically is still in the data center. It's still hardwired. So, that's created, it's a massive market globally. It's a massive market in the US, and that's created a lot of opportunities for companies like Fuze, and a lot of us, we compete, but the truth is it's a really big market. We all have opportunities, and we're all great in different ways, and I think for many years to come, we'll all have opportunities.
Okay, yeah. I think with the cloud collaboration tools and contact center, companies are able to move faster. They're much more flexible and agile, and there's a lot of savings too in the long run with the maintenance. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, wonderful. So, Michael, what is exciting this year that you're looking to achieve?
That's a great question. I wasn't going to bring it up until you asked me the right question. So, one of the things that ties back to some of the research and how we think about this is there really isn't an event yet for flexible work. And so one of the neat things that we're putting together, Fuze is kind of helping lead this, but really it's going to be about the industry, is we're creating a Flex Summit, actually flexsummit.com in June, where it's going to be in Boston, but we're inviting a lot of people from the industry, and we're talking about the future of work and flexible work. So that's something pretty exciting. Some of our customers, some of our potential customers, and a lot of people in the industry, futurists and people that think about building space and all of this. And so we're bringing together a one-day summit with a bunch of speakers, and I think that's pretty exciting. It goes back to, if you listen enough, you'll figure out what you ought to build for the next 2 to 3 years. Okay. And so that's why we're using that event.
Sounds great. Maybe I can attend that event then.
Absolutely.
Boston in the summer. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Michael, for being here to share about Fuze, what you're developing, the technology alliances that you're looking to strike. So looking forward to hearing more developments out of your company.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time.
There you have it. Tech It Up with Jessica Lee, Michael Musselman, Director of Biz Dev and Tech Alliances at Fuze.